Hello and welcome to today's video everyone. Today we're going to talk about the statement that teenagers should not consume caffeine and that it is bad for us. So let's just dig in and see what the science says. But first of all, what is caffeine? Well, I'm sure most of you don't know that, but caffeine is actually a drug. Yes, a stimulant that affects your central nervous system by delivering a kick in the ass. Let's put it that way. But unlike many other drugs, caffeine is actually legal, and in fact it is the world's most widely consumed drug. And why is that? Well, let's look at the facts. Well, it seems that caffeine has many health benefits, and a few of them is it can stimulate hair growth, it can improve your memory, and it may actually protect you from Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. But today I want to emphasize on how caffeine can improve your gym performance. By visiting bodybuilding.com, we can see that caffeine actually affects your gym performance very well by improving your endurance, your strength and power. It delays your fatigue and it improves mental focus. So far so good. Caffeine, from things that I just read, is something amazing. But why is it bad for teenagers? We still don't know that. Well, let's actually see an article for caffeine and teenagers and see what it has to do with us. Well guys, it seems that the information about teenagers and caffeine is a bit insufficient, but even though there is enough information to make a conclusion. I found a few articles on this topic, so now let's just jump into them and see what they say. So the first one is from coffeeandhealth.org, and what it says is that the European Food Safety Authority suggested that caffeine intakes of 3 mg per kilogram of body weight per day provides a basis for calculating caffeine intakes of no concern for children and adolescents. They also advised that caffeine intake near bedtime can increase sleep latency and reduce sleep duration in some children and adolescents. Then, if we jump into the European Food Safety Authority's site, we can find the source itself. And as we can see here, for children and adolescents, the information available is insufficient, as I said, to derive a safe caffeine intake. And the panel considers that caffeine intakes of no concern derived for acute caffeine consumption by adults, which is 3 mg per kilogram of body weight daily, may serve as a basis to derive single dose of caffeine and daily caffeine intakes of no concern for these population subgroups, which means for us. So, as the European Food Safety Authority says, 3 mg per kilogram of body weight may serve as a basis for children and adolescents to define their caffeine intake daily. So just to make sure that it's all safe, I would say that a little bit less than 3 mg per kilogram of body weight daily is just perfect for an active teenager. And what I mean by an active teenager is that the particular person should undertake intense workouts after he or she consumes caffeine. Caffeine, of course, is optional, but if you're a teenager and you're consuming as much caffeine as the European Food Safety Authority says, I definitely suggest undertaking some intense physical exercise. So, to make a conclusion from what I just said, I would say that 2.5 mg of caffeine per kilogram of body weight daily is good for an active teenager, by having in mind that this caffeine consumption should be around 1 to 2 hours prior to a workout, which preferably should not be in the evening or close to bedtime. And if in your country you're not using kilograms but pounds, it is 1.13 mg of caffeine per pound of body weight daily for an active teenager. But there is a possibility that you may be sensitive to caffeine, so 2.5 mg per kilogram of body weight or 1.13 mg per pound of body weight may be too much for you. And how you will know about this is by experimenting and trying out different things. If you're sensitive to caffeine, after 1 cup of coffee you will be like so this will serve you as a cue not to consume that much caffeine. Oh, and something very important about caffeine. As I said, it's a drug, so it's addictive. So your body will get used to it. And to prevent that, I suggest taking breaks from caffeine as often as possible. And other two side effects of caffeine are dehydration and that it affects your sleep. Caffeine has a diuretic effect which is thought to dehydrate your body. But if you drink enough fluids, you will be alright. And about the sleep effect, just don't consume caffeine close to bedtime. There may be some sources of caffeine that you may consume but don't even know about it. So, let's jump to the sources of caffeine. First on the list is cocoa powder, and in 1 tablespoon of it there is around 12 mg of caffeine, of course depending on the manufacturer, which is actually very low. Next on the list is of course coffee, and it is very confusing to say exactly how much caffeine there is in one cup because it depends on the amount of coffee you put in there and on the type of coffee. But in that example I show you a 120 milliliters or 4-ounce cup of Arabica coffee, and its caffeine content is about 100 milligrams. After that we have tea, and just as coffee, it is hard to say exactly how much caffeine there is in one cup because of the different kinds, but today I'm giving green tea as an example, and with this packet there we can do a 250 milliliters cup, which will have around 30 milligrams of caffeine. And the last from maybe the most consumed caffeine sources are energy drinks, and the most famous one, Monster, in which there is 30 milligrams per 100 milliliters of the white one, which means that there is around 165 milligrams of caffeine for the whole can. Warning, the following words may sound stolen from Rocky, but they are not, and I mean every single one of them. One last thing guys, I just wanted to point out that caffeine is not actually necessary. Why? Because it's a drug. Well, there are some drugs for happiness, right? That make you happy and feel good. Well, but you can feel good without those drugs, right? You can feel happy and good every time. It's all in your mind, it's mentality. I know it sounds strange, but what my point is that caffeine is not actually necessary and you are more powerful than you think. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed the video and learned something, and if you did, please leave a like. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments below and they will be answered. And if you want more, subscribe and turn the notifications bell
Okay.
to see when I'm posting a video. And again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.